Which one, Your Grace? The matchmaker's quill hovered above her ledger. 10 portraits lay arranged before him. 10 perfect daughters of England. 10 fortunes. 10 alliances. 10 futures any duke would consider an advantage. He did not look at them. He did not glance at the lineage charts or dowry figures or miniature paintings rendered in delicate ivory. He stared past the silk, the gold frames, the carefully curated smiles. And when he spoke, the candle flames trembled. None of them. Mrs. Whitfield's breath faltered. Your Grace? Give me the one you did not show me. His voice was even, controlled, frighteningly calm. Give me the one no one wanted. Silence fell in the mahogany study like a dropped blade. You cannot mean... I mean precisely what I said. His eyes were winter iron, patient, unforgiving. There is always one, he continued softly. The daughter of family hides, the one deemed too plain, too quiet, too inconvenient, the one they have already decided is a loss. He leaned forward. Give me her. London spring of 1844. The season glittered like a marketplace of human ambition. Chandeliers burned through the night. Carriages lined Grosvenor Square in endless rows. Mothers measured daughters the way merchants measured silk, assessing shine, texture, resale value. Beauty was currency, charm was negotiation, and failure was unforgivable. On Caron Street, close enough to Mayfair to pretend, far enough to betray the lie, the Pembroke family prepared for yet another ball. Lady Viola Pembroke stood before the mirror, adjusting a ribbon in her second daughter's hair. Georgiana must secure an offer this month, she declared sharply. Letitia, play the pianoforte tonight, something melancholy. Men mistake sadness for depth. Behind them, unnoticed, Clementine fastened the faded gray silk gown she had worn 3 seasons in succession. She was 23, too old to debut, too young to vanish entirely, and already forgotten. Her mother did not turn. You will remain by the wall, Lady Viola instructed coldly. Do not draw attention. If asked, you are unwell. I am not unwell. You are inconvenient, her mother replied, meeting her eyes at last. There is a difference. The words landed without drama. They had been landing for years. That evening, the Marchioness of Cheltenham's ballroom blazed with light. 300 guests. White muslin and pale blue satin. Laughter sharp as crystal. Clementine stood behind a marble pillar, invisible by design. Her gray silk absorbed the candlelight rather than reflecting it. She positioned herself carefully, not sulking, not defiant, merely outside the current of desirability. From here she could observe the Earl of Stratton arguing quietly with his wife, a Viscount watering his champagne with laudanum, a marriage negotiation unfolding in the angle of a fan. Observation was safer than participation, safer than hope. The doors opened. The room shifted. Whispers rippled outward like a tremor beneath polished floors. The Duke of Beaumont. He entered in black. No ornamentation, no ostentation, just presence. Tall, broad-shouldered, unsmiling. Percival Drake, 7th Duke of Beaumont. 34, 42,000 a year. 12 years refusing every eligible bride in England. Mothers tightened their daughters' grips. Georgiana's laughter rose an octave. Clementine did not move. She merely watched him scan the room with cold, measured precision, passing beauty after beauty without pause, without interest, until... He stopped, his gaze fixed, not on Georgiana, not on Letitia, on the gray silk behind the pillar, on her. Clementine's breath caught. She glanced behind her. No one. When she looked back, he was walking toward her. The crowd parted instinctively. He did not hurry. He did not smile. He stopped before her. You are standing behind a pillar, he observed. His voice was low, controlled, not unkind. I am, she replied steadily. It is a very fine pillar. A flicker, barely visible, crossed his eyes. It is adequate, he said. You are misusing it. Am I? Pillars support ceilings, he said quietly. They are not meant to hide women who should be dancing. A flush rose in her cheeks. I am observing. And what have you observed? She should have deflected. Instead, something about him demanded truth. The gentleman in red is watering his drink. The lady in blue will discover her husband's mistress before midnight. And you, Your Grace, are the first person to speak to me this evening." The silence between them sharpened. His gaze darkened. "Dance with me." Her pulse thundered. "You do not dance, Your Grace." That was not a request. Gasps spread as he led her onto the floor. 300 eyes burned into her back. The waltz began. His hand settled at her waist. "Warm. Certain. You know my name," she said quietly. "I know more than that." She missed a step. He steadied her effortlessly. "You are 23. You have attended 2 seasons. Your mother describes you as plain." She went very still. "And am I?" she asked. "No," he said. The music swelled. "You are the only real thing in this room." The world seemed to contract around them. "Why?" she whispered. His jaw tightened slightly. "Because I have spent 3 years searching for a woman who once read Wordsworth beneath a willow tree while the rest of London performed for applause." Her heart stopped. "How?" "I remember everything," he said quietly. "Even what the world forgets." The waltz ended. He bowed deeply. "I will call tomorrow." It was not a question. Across the ballroom, Lady Viola's face drained of color, and Clementine, the daughter no one wanted, felt something she had buried long ago begin to rise. Hope, which in 1844 London was far more dangerous than humiliation. The Duke of Beaumont arrived at precisely 11, not a minute before, not a minute after. Cairn Street had not seen such a carriage in its history. The Beaumont crest gleamed against polished black lacquer, the matched grays stamping impatiently against the cobblestones as though aware they carried power. Inside the narrow townhouse, hysteria reigned. Lady Viola had repositioned furniture twice. Georgiana wore her palest pink silk. Letitia sat at the pianoforte prepared to demonstrate tragic sensitivity at a moment's notice. Clementine wore the same gray gown. There had been no time and no money for transformation. She sat upright on the settee, hands folded, heart disciplined. The footman announced him. The room shifted. Percival Drake entered without flourish. He bowed to Sir Reginald, inclined his head to Lady Viola, acknowledged Georgiana and Letitia as one might acknowledge decorative porcelain. Then his gaze settled, immediately, inevitably, on Clementine. "Miss Pembroke," he said. Her mother's fingers tightened audibly on her fan. "Your Grace," Clementine replied. "I was hoping you might walk with me." "In the drawing room?" Lady Viola interjected swiftly. "In the garden," he said calmly. It was not a request. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut skin. A private walk, unchaperoned, unmistakable. Lady Viola forced a brittle smile. "Of course. Georgiana, you might—" "I asked Miss Pembroke," the Duke said mildly. And that was that. The garden was scarcely more than a square of green bordered by brick and ambition, a stone bench, a modest rose bush, gravel underfoot. Yet beneath the pale morning sun it felt vast. They walked in silence at first. He did not hurry. He did not fill the air with polite trivialities. He studied her, not her dress. Her. "What do you read?" he asked at last. "Everything," she replied. "Poetry, history, essays, newspapers when I can rescue them before they are burned." His mouth nearly curved. "Burned? My mother believes women who read political commentary become disagreeable." "And are you disagreeable?" "Profoundly." There it was, a faint crack in his composure. "Good," he said softly. "I find agreeable women exhausting." She glanced at him. "You rejected 10 brides this week." "I rejected 10 performances." "And I am not performing?" "No." The word was immediate. "Certain. You stood behind a pillar and catalogued a room with surgical precision. You told me truths no one else dared articulate. That is not always rewarded." "No," he agreed quietly. "It is not." They reached the end of the gravel path. Turned, returned. "I did not seek you by accident," he added. Her breath faltered. "You sought me?" "Yes." A pause. "Why?" His gaze held hers. "Because 3 years ago at the Countess of Durham's garden party, I saw a woman beneath a willow tree chasing scattered pages of Wordsworth across the grass with more joy than I have seen in any ballroom since. The world stilled. You remember that? She whispered. I remember everything. I did not see you. You were not meant to. Something in his voice shifted. I inquired afterward. No one knew your name. You had already been withdrawn. Heat crept into her cheeks. My mother prefers efficiency. And invisibility. The word was not gentle. She lifted her chin. Invisibility is survivable. His gaze darkened. Not if I have any say in it. Silence pressed between them. She felt it. The weight of his intention. The danger. You cannot simply decide to see someone and expect the world to comply, she said quietly. No, he agreed. But I can decide to stand where the world must look. The implication was unmistakable. You would endure scandal, she asked softly, for a woman in gray silk? For the only woman in this city who does not attempt to become something she is not? He stepped closer, not touching, never careless. You think I chose you because you are overlooked, he said quietly. You are wrong. Then why? Because when you speak, you do not calculate what I wish to hear. Her pulse betrayed her. You could ruin me, she said. His expression did not change. I could elevate you. That is not the same thing. A flicker, approval, that passed through his eyes. No, he said, it is not. Inside the townhouse, Lady Viola paced. Outside, Clementine felt something shift. Not in society, not yet, but within herself. He had searched for her, not the pretty sister, not the talented one. Her. Hope stirred again, more dangerous now, because this was no longer coincidence. This was pursuit, and a duke who pursued did not do so lightly. May I call again tomorrow? He asked. You are a duke, she replied evenly. You rarely require permission. His gaze held hers a moment longer than propriety permitted. I will call, he said, and Clementine understood something then that made her breath unsteady. He had not merely found her. He had decided. By the third day, London was whispering. The Duke of Beaumont had called on Miss Clementine Pembroke again, and again. Not her golden sister, not the accomplished one at the pianoforte. The plain one, the inconvenient one. He arrived with violets the first morning. Not roses. Violets. My mother considers them weeds, Clementine said quietly as the bouquet was placed in her hands. They grow where they are not invited, he replied. I admire that. Lady Viola's smile grew tighter with each visit. Georgiana began appearing in doorways with calculated timing, laughter sharpened to cut glass. Letitia played Mozart with unnecessary force. Percival Drake noticed. He did not react. He spoke to Clementine as though the rest of the room were painted scenery. On the fourth afternoon, he took her driving in Hyde Park, an open carriage, deliberate exposure. The Serpentine shimmered beneath pale sunlight while opera glasses lifted across the promenade like synchronized accusation. You are doing this intentionally, Clementine murmured without looking at him. Yes. Why? Because when I choose something, he said evenly, I do not conceal it. Her heart tightened. You are turning me into spectacle. I am preventing them from pretending you do not exist. She turned to him then. And when they turn cruel? His jaw hardened slightly. They will not. You cannot control all of London. No, he said, but I can make London understand the cost. There it was. Not gentleness. Protection. Fierce and calculated. It should have frightened her. Instead, something inside her shifted. Not fear. Recognition. Later that week, at Lady Cheltenham's second ball, the conservatory was thick with jasmine and heat. Clementine slipped inside for air. She knew he would follow. 5 minutes later, the door opened. Heavy steps across stone. You left, he observed. So did you. I followed. I know. He moved closer. The air changed. No witnesses. No performance. Only glass walls and moonlight. Clementine. He had never spoken her name like that before. Low, unarmored. She turned. He was closer than propriety allowed, close enough that she could see restraint battling something darker in his eyes. I have waited 3 years, he said quietly, to stand this near you without you disappearing. Her breath faltered. You make it sound like a hunt. It was. His fingers brushed her cheek. Just once, barely. But the touch burned. You are not afraid of me, he murmured. I should be. And yet, I'm afraid of wanting this. Silence thickened. His gaze dropped to her mouth. The distance between them narrowed to a breath. Then, the door flew open. Clementine. Georgiana. Sharp, intruding. Mother requires you at once. Percival's hand fell. His expression shuddered instantly. Controlled. Impenetrable. He stepped back with lethal discipline. Clementine felt the loss like a wound. As she moved past her sister, Georgiana's eyes were bright with something venomous. Not fear. Jealousy. That night Clementine lay awake with Jasmine still clinging to her skin. He had almost kissed her. The Duke who had refused 10 brides. The Duke who did not lose control. And for one suspended moment beneath glass and moonlight he had nearly forgotten himself. So had she. The first fracture had appeared, not in society, in him, and in the dangerous, trembling place inside her that wanted him to forget control again. 9 days. That was how long the silence lasted. 9 mornings without violets. 9 afternoons without the sound of Beaumont's carriage wheels against Karen Street. 9 evenings of Clementine pretending not to listen for footsteps that never came. At first she told herself it was Parliament, estate matters, duty. He was a duke. Dukes were claimed by obligations larger than affection. By the 4th day, doubt crept in like damp beneath a closed door. By the 7th, humiliation had settled into her bones. Lady Viola did not disguise her satisfaction. I warned you, she said lightly at breakfast. Men like that do not marry women like us. Like you, Clementine thought. But she did not speak it. Georgiana had grown unusually serene. Too serene. On the 9th morning, Clementine stopped waiting for flowers. Instead, she wrote. By candlelight in the upstairs parlor, she pressed her palm to the desk to steady its trembling and forced herself to do the one thing she had never done with him. Demand truth. Your Grace, if I have offended you, I deserve to know how. If I have disappointed you, I deserve to know why. If you have decided I am not what you wished, I will accept it. But do not erase me without explanation. I have been erased enough. She sealed the letter with wax. She did not cry. Tears were indulgent. Truth was not. At Beaumont House, Percival Drake stood in his study holding 2 letters, one in Clementine's hand, one in a near-perfect imitation. The forged letter had arrived first. Delivered discreetly through Mrs. Whitfield, it had claimed Clementine had known of his search through servant gossip, that she had engineered her invitation to Cheltenham's ball, that the courtship was calculation. The handwriting had been close enough to wound. Percival had not believed it, but he had not dismissed it either. He had retreated into investigation, into control, safer than trust. His secretary had compared the strokes. A subtle difference in the crossing of the T, a hesitation in the curve of the C. On the 7th day, his man of business traced the paper to Bond Street, purchased recently by Miss Georgiana Pembroke. Now he held Clementine's real letter, alive with hesitation, ink pooling where her hand had paused. Raw. Unperformed. I have been erased enough. The words broke something inside him that logic had protected. He did not ring for his carriage. He did not send a note. He rode through the night. Dawn had barely touched Karen Street when the door to the upstairs parlor opened. Clementine stood so quickly her book fell to the floor. He looked unmade, rain in his hair, cravat loosened, eyes dark. Your letter, he said, voice roughened by something deeper than exhaustion. You said you had been erased enough. I have. He crossed the room in 3 strides, took her hands. Bah, unshielded. I was given a forged letter, he said, claiming you had manipulated me. It was convincing enough to demand investigation. Her face drained of color. A forgery? Your sister. Silence, cold and immediate. I dismantled it piece by piece, he continued, but I did not come to you first. I chose evidence over trust. She pulled her hands free and gave me 9 days of silence. Pain flickered across his face. I thought I was protecting us. You were protecting yourself. The words were not shouted. They were precise. You investigated me instead of asking me. His jaw tightened. Yes. You allowed me to believe I was disposable again. The quiet in her voice cut deeper than accusation. I will not love a man, she said steadily, who retreats when it is inconvenient to trust me. The Duke of Beaumont stood motionless, not proud, not commanding, listening. You will earn me, Clementine finished softly. Not with carriages, not with flowers, with faith. A long pause. Then, you are right, he said. No defense, no arrogance, just truth. I will earn you. And for the first time since that conservatory almost kiss, Clementine saw something she had never seen in him before. Not control, not possession, vulnerability. The first real surrender. But outside the parlor door someone was listening, and jealousy once exposed does not retreat quietly. He did not send flowers the next morning. He came himself. No carriage crest. No announcement. Just Percival Drake standing in the small drawing room at Caron Street, hat in hand, pride set aside with deliberate care. Lady Viola attempted civility. I trust matters are clarified. They are being corrected, he replied evenly. Then he turned to Clementine. May I speak with you? Her mother hesitated. He did not look at her. I asked Miss Pembroke. They walked again in the narrow garden. The roses were just beginning to bloom. He did not reach for her. He did not assume forgiveness. I have spent my life verifying everything, he said quietly. Every alliance, every contract, every loyalty. And I am not a contract, she replied. No. Silence. I saw deception everywhere because deception is common around me, he continued. I forgot that you have never once deceived me. You forgot that I am not afraid of truth. His gaze sharpened. I am afraid of losing you. The honesty was abrupt, unpolished. It unsettled her more than arrogance would have. You nearly did, she said softly. He absorbed that without protest. I thought distance would protect us while I confirmed facts. And instead, she replied, distance confirmed my worst fears. Her composure faltered for the first time. Do you know what 9 days of silence feels like to a woman who has always been told she is insufficient? His throat tightened. No, he admitted. It feels inevitable. The word lingered. He stepped closer, not touching. I will never retreat from you again without explanation, he said. If doubt comes, I bring it to you. If fear comes, I bring it to you. I will not investigate my own wife as though she were an adversary. She studied him, the Duke, feared, immovable, and yet here he stood asking to be measured. You do not yet have a wife, she reminded him quietly. Then allow me to prove myself worthy of one. The vulnerability in that sentence changed something, not the tension, but its shape. That evening, he escorted her to Lord Ashcroft's dinner, her first formal appearance beside him since the silence. London watched. They always did. She wore deep blue silk, not extravagant, but striking. He had chosen the color. You are staring, she murmured as they entered. I'm ensuring no one else stares incorrectly. Her lips nearly curved, possessive, but restrained, until Lord Grayson Hale approached. Charming, idle, standing too close. So this is the woman who captivated Beaumont, Hale drawled. I confess I did not see the appeal at first glance. Percival appeared at Clementine's side without visible movement. She is not available for assessment, he said calmly. Hale laughed nervously. I meant no offense. I did not inquire as to your intention. The temperature around them dropped. Hale retreated. Clementine exhaled slowly. You need not threaten every man who speaks to me. I did not threaten him. You implied ruin. I implied consequence. She turned to him. I am not fragile. I know. Then trust that I can manage myself. His jaw tightened. I saw a dent in the shadows tonight. Her heart skipped. Sir Cornelius? Yes. The name was clipped. He blames me for his ruin. I do not underestimate men with nothing left to lose. You would destroy him? If he touched you. The certainty in his voice was chilling, protective, terrifying, devoted. She met his gaze steadily. I do not belong to you. No, he said quietly. You are the only person I've ever chosen freely. The distinction settled between them. Not possession, selection, desire, fear, love, almost. The carriage ride home was silent but charged. Gas lamps flickered across his face. "You said I must earn you," he murmured. "Yes." He lowered himself unexpectedly from the carriage seat, kneeling on the floor before her, a duke, on his knees. "Then let me begin properly," he said, taking her hands. "Marry me." Her breath caught. The world beyond the carriage dissolved. "I have searched for you for 3 years," he continued softly. "Do not make me search again." The question hovered, not command, not pressure. Choice, and Clementine felt the full weight of it. The carriage swayed gently as London blurred beyond the glass. He was still kneeling, the Duke of Beaumont, a man who had bent before no one, his hands wrapped around hers, not possessive, not commanding, but steady, waiting. "Marry me," he repeated, quieter now. "Not because I am a duke, not because London expects it, but because I have chosen you. Entirely." Her pulse thundered. "You nearly lost me once," she said softly. "I know. You investigated me." "Yes." "You let silence answer in your place." His jaw tightened. "Yes." "And now you kneel." A faint flicker, almost a smile. "Yes." She studied him, this man of iron composure, this feared duke, this boy who had once been told he was insufficient. "You terrify me," she whispered. His grip tightened infinitesimally. "Why?" "Because when you love like conquest." A stillness passed through him. "I love like survival," he corrected quietly. "I do not know how to do it gently." "I do not want gentle," she replied. The words surprised them both. "I want honesty. I want partnership. I want to stand beside you, not beneath you." He held her gaze. "You will never stand beneath me." Silence. London rattled on outside. Inside the carriage, something irrevocable waited. "And if I say yes," she asked, "you will trust me before you trust evidence?" "Yes." "You will speak when fear tempts you to retreat?" "Yes." "You will not erase me when doubt arrives?" His voice lowered. "Never." She exhaled, 23 years of invisibility pressing against her ribs. "I will not marry a man who sees me as salvation," she said quietly. "I am not here to heal your loneliness." His expression shifted. "I do not need healing," he said evenly. "I need you." The difference was deliberate, careful. She believed him, and that terrified her more than doubt ever had. "Yes," she said. The word left her slowly, not breathless, not impulsive, certain. He closed his eyes briefly. Relief passed over his face like a shadow lifting. When he rose from the carriage floor, he did not reclaim dominance. He reclaimed composure, but his voice remained rough. "I will announce it tomorrow. You enjoy spectacle. I enjoy clarity." Her lips curved faintly. "You do realize my mother will faint." "She may," he agreed. "I will ensure she lands softly." The carriage stopped before Caron Street. He stepped down first, offered his hand. But before she descended, he leaned close. "One thing more," he murmured. "Yes?" "If any man ever places his hands upon you without invitation—" "Percival!" His eyes darkened. "I will not hesitate." There was no anger in it, only vow. She stepped down into the night air, and from across the street in shadow near the gas lamp, Sir Cornelius Dent watched. His expression was not admiration, not jealousy, something colder, the kind of resentment that festers in men whose pride has been dismantled publicly. Clementine felt it, the prickle at the back of her neck. She glanced toward the shadows. Percival noticed. "What is it?" "Nothing," she said softly. But her instincts, sharpened by years of watching from corners, whispered otherwise. He followed her gaze, saw nothing.
Yet,
and as they entered the townhouse to deliver the announcement that would shake London, danger shifted quietly into position. The engagement would make her visible. Visibility in 1844 carried a price, and there were men who would happily collect it. The engagement was announced on a Monday morning. By Tuesday, London was in a frenzy. The Duke of Beaumont, who had rejected 10 titled brides in a single week, was to marry Miss Clementine Pembroke. The forgotten daughter, the gray silk girl, the one no one had thought worth presenting. Calling cards arrived in stacks. Women who had once looked through her now requested audiences. Mothers recalculated. fathers whispered. Lady Viola oscillated between triumph and humiliation, unsure whether she had ascended or been exposed. But the true test came at the Philharmonic concert 3 nights later. It was Clementine's first public appearance as the Duke's acknowledged fiancée, not merely a curiosity. A declaration. The concert hall glowed with gaslight, velvet seats, crystal sconces, the hum of expectation. Percival escorted her in wearing black evening coat, posture immaculate, expression unreadable. Clementine wore ivory silk, simple, severe, her hair arranged without ornament. She felt every eye upon her. "They are measuring me," she murmured. "They are recalculating," he corrected. They had scarcely taken their seats when Lady Worthington leaned forward. "My dear," she cooed, her smile sharpened by envy. "How fortunate you are. Beaumont has always been so particular." The implication was clear. How did someone like you manage it? Clementine smiled gently. "I suspect he prefers women who read rather than perform." The surrounding listeners stiffened. Percival's fingers tightened slightly around her gloved hand. Not to silence, to steady. Midway through the second movement, Clementine excused herself for air. The corridor beyond the hall was dimly lit. Cool. She stepped beneath the portico, inhaling night air scented faintly with rain. And that was when a hand seized her arm. "Hart, you are his weakness," a familiar voice hissed. Sir Cornelius Dent. His breath reeked of brandy. His pride, long since wounded by Percival's earlier exposures, now sharpened into desperation. "Release me. You think marrying him makes you untouchable?" "No," she said evenly, but it makes you foolish." He tightened his grip. "You cost me everything." "You cost yourself," she replied calmly. His laugh was brittle. "I could ruin you in a single whisper." "You have already been ruined." His face darkened. He pushed her against the stone wall. The world narrowed. Not panic, calculation. "You owe £9,000, she said coolly. 3 creditors have already petitioned Parliament. If you assault the Duke's fiancée, you will not leave England intact." He faltered, just slightly. That was enough. A shadow moved. Slow, deliberate. Percival Drake stepped from darkness like something summoned. He did not shout, did not run. He simply took Dent by the throat and pressed him against the brick with lethal precision. "You touched her." His voice was quiet, more terrifying than fury. Dent gasped. "Beaumont!" "You touched her." Percival's eyes burned with something ancient. "Release him." Clementine's voice cut through the moment. Both men stilled. She stepped forward. "I am not harmed." Percival did not loosen his grip. "You will kneel," he said softly to Dent. Dent hesitated. Percival's fingers tightened. "You will kneel and apologize to her." And under the gaslight, on cold stone, Sir Cornelius Dent knelt before the woman he had called plain. "I apologize," he choked. "To her," Percival corrected. Dent bowed his head toward Clementine. "I apologize, Miss Pembroke." She studied him, measured, then inclined her head once. "That will suffice." Percival released him. Dent stumbled away into shadow. The corridor had not remained empty. Witnesses lingered. Whispers had already begun. Percival turned to Clementine. His rage did not vanish. It transformed. "Are you afraid?" he asked quietly. "No." A pause. "Good," he replied. He offered his arm, not as shield, as equal. When they re-entered the concert hall, conversation died. All eyes shifted. Percival did not mask what had occurred. He walked beside her with unmistakable claim, not possession, protection. Announcement. Let them see. Let them understand. The Duke of Beaumont had chosen. And London, which adored spectacle, now witnessed something rarer. Devotion without apology. But Clementine felt it. The escalation. This was no longer merely courtship. It was war. And war, even for dukes, demanded sacrifice. Sir Cornelius Dent did not return to the concert hall. He left London within the week, not by choice. Every debt he carried was called in. Every creditor suddenly confident. Every gentleman's club membership revoked. Every whisper sharpened. Percival did not rage publicly. He dismantled quietly. Systematically, the message spread faster than scandal ever could. The Duke of Beaumont's fiancée was untouchable, and the cost of forgetting it was annihilation. The wedding was set for early June at St. George's, Hanover Square, the church of ambitious alliances, the altar of fashionable marriages. The pews filled long before the appointed hour. Dukes, earls, baronesses who had once dismissed Clementine with a flick of lace. Lady Viola arrived in lavender silk, spine rigid, expression carefully composed. She had rehearsed pride in the mirror. Whether she felt it was irrelevant. Clementine stood in the vestry, ivory silk falling in clean, unadorned lines. No heavy jewels. No theatrical embellishment. She did not want spectacle. She wanted truth. "You may still retreat," Percival said quietly behind her. She turned. He stood in full formal black, immaculate, controlled, and yet his eyes betrayed him. Not cold, not distant, uncertain. "I will not," she replied. "I do not require rescue," he added carefully. "And I do not require elevation," she answered. Silence. He stepped closer. "In an hour," he said, voice lower now, "the law will consider you mine." "And what will you consider me?" His gaze did not waver. "My equal." The doors opened. Music rose. She walked down the aisle on her father's arm. Not hidden, not diminished, not gray. The room watched. Percival did not. He watched only her. The vows were spoken, steady, measured. But when he slid the ring onto her finger, something in his composure fractured. Not weakness, relief. When he kissed her, it was brief, proper, yet charged with 12 years of denial and 3 years of searching. London felt it. Even the most cynical among them felt it. This was not convenience. It was choice. Beaumont Hall welcomed her not as ornament but as mistress. 200 rooms, marble corridors, gardens stretching into summer haze. He walked her through the east wing on their first evening, stopped before a closed door, and handed her a key. "For you." She opened it, and the world shifted. Floor-to-ceiling shelves, oak warmed by firelight, a reading chair in deep blue velvet, a writing desk positioned to catch morning sun, shelves lined with volumes she had only ever dreamed of owning. Wollstonecraft, Shelley, scientific journals from the Royal Society, pamphlets Parliament preferred women never read, Wordsworth, first edition. Her breath broke. "You built this. For you. How long?" A pause. 3 years. The air left her lungs. "Since the willow tree?" "Yes." "You collected these before you knew my name." "I knew your mind," he said quietly. "That was enough." She turned to him slowly. "You hired the matchmaker to find me." "Yes." "You rejected 10 brides to reach me." "Yes." "You demanded the one no one wanted." His jaw tightened slightly. "They did not want you," he corrected. "I did." Silence. "Then, you should have spoken to me at the garden party." I hesitated. "Why?" "Because I was afraid you would look at me and see only a duke. And instead you chose to watch." "Yes." Her eyes softened. "You are not the only one who hides behind pillars, Percival." He stepped closer. "I will never hesitate again." She studied him carefully. The man feared by Parliament. The Duke mothers warned daughters about. The boy once told he was not enough. "Then do not love me because I was overlooked," she said quietly. "I love you because you see," he replied. "See what?" "Me." That was the moment, not the wedding, not the scandal, not the kneeling in the carriage. The quiet recognition of 2 people who had both been unseen. "You gave me a library," she said softly. "You gave me a reason to build one." She stepped forward. No billet, no wall, no audience, and kissed him first. Not tentative, not hesitant, certain. The firelight flickered across shelves built from patience and devotion. Outside, London continued its endless calculations. Inside, in a room no one else had ever entered, the Duke who rejected 10 noble brides, no longer gray, no longer hidden, no longer surplus. He had demanded the one no one wanted, and she had demanded the man beneath the title. Both had won, and for the first time in their lives, neither of them was invisible.